Welcome to the Tom Clark Weekly Speed Report. I'm your host, Tom Clark, along with co-hosts Corey Carroll and Colton Jacobs, here to bring you weekly insight on all things NASCAR with a review of past week's races and a preview of upcoming events on the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series schedule. Follow us at Twitter at TCW Speed Report and email us at tcwspeedreport@gmail.com. Welcome, Corey and Colton. How are you guys doing?
All right, Tom. How you doing?
Doing very good.
Good, just trying to stay warm.
It's very cold here in North Carolina. Snow's coming tomorrow, and we'll see how that goes.
How much snow are we going to get, Tom?
We've already talked about this. Weather Channel said 1 to 3 inches.
No, let's not get into it.
Okay. So we're going to review last night's Sprint Unlimited. It's a annual exhibition event to kick off the NASCAR season a week prior to the Daytona 500. Pole winners, former Daytona 500 pole winners, I think all 16 drivers from the chase. There's some eligibility rules that are pretty much changed every year to see who gets in and gets out. The race went pretty much like I thought it was, an all-out, let's get after it. There's a big lump of money at the end, which, we saw the impending wrecks, people getting into each other, tempers flaring.
The purse is almost as big as the All-Star race now.
Yeah, and the money's big too.
Well, you know what I mean. Shut up.
So yeah, I think it's pretty much an all-star event to kick off the season, to get everybody's motors running, I guess you could say. I think it pretty much turned out the way I thought it was. People knocking off the rust. But do you guys think it gives a preview to anything, maybe like the 500 or even the off-season changes?
Yeah, I guess it does a little bit. You see who the better drivers are on the plate tracks, but those are not the cars they're going to be using. So I don't guess you can really say, oh, well, Kenseth won, so he's going to be fast in the 500. I don't think that's how it's going to be, but you can say that Kenseth won. He's one of the better plate drivers. We all know that anyway. And you can see how the cars work with whatever new rules they are. But from what I understand, they're not that different for the plate cars. So I don't know what the plate races are just a crapshoot anyway. So you can't really. It'd be stupid to sit here and say that you can tell what's going to happen.
And that's something I wanted to touch on. Back in the day, you could almost pick who was going to be good at plate tracks. Every year, one of the Roberts Yates cars were sitting on the pole. RCR, DEI. You always kind of had those people that you knew were going to be good at plate tracks. And now you've kind of got this, the cars are so equal. Like you said, it's just a toss-up of who's going to be good at a plate track. I don't think they've had a consecutive plate track winner in such a long time. There's nobody that has a really clear advantage.
The last one I remember was Dale Earnhardt Jr. in 2004, 2003. That little stretch where he won, was it 4 in a row at Talladega?
I think so, yeah.
The Daytona 500 and his July race was in 2001, but that was the last one where I remember a driver dominating plate tracks.
Yeah. So I think, it's the quickest review I could give for the Sprint Unlimited. Yeah, there were some tempers flaring at the end there with Kevin Harvick and Joey Logano. That is, to me, that's a tale of two different opinions. I think because Kevin's car was so badly damaged, he was in the way of Joey, and Joey just ran right all over him, put him in the wall. Of course, each one of them saw it a little bit different. I guess it's good to see that, that kind of intensity at the start of the season, especially people that aren't fans. I'm sure this made some headlines, I guess.
Oh, it's great. I wish I'd just get out and fight after every race. That's well, I was going to say that's like the 79 500, but
well, the whole Northeast is kind of snowed in what are you going to do on a Saturday night? This is the words from Darrell Waltrip. What are you going to do on a Saturday night? Watch television. So hopefully there was enough people to watch the race. And
I don't know if I could take any advice from Darrell Waltrip.
well, he is a 3-time champion and whatnot. But anyway, Sprint Unlimited, it was a good race. It's got my motor running and excited for the rest of the 2015 season. Let's talk about that qualifying. Had a cramp in my foot. That's what it was. And it kind of made the mic go there. Let's talk about the qualifying fiasco at Daytona for the pole, actually for the front row. This is the first time I've actually got to sit down and witness this new group qualifying. I guess you wouldn't call it new anymore. It's, we've had it for a year now. To me, I guess you could say it was a great show for the fans, but even at home, I would hate to be sitting there watching cars wait till a minute left on a clock to get going and try to get a fast lap in. And certain guys lining up with each other, all the Toyotas, all the Chevys, all the Fords. What's your take on? Should they do single car runs again, or should they just pretty much stick with this to be consistent?
Well, I think, Tom, at the plate tracks we need single car runs. I like doing this style qualifying at regular tracks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I say regular, non-plate tracks. Because I think it does add excitement. It adds that zest. You have drivers that can make multiple runs. Because you saw last year there were times where a driver would go out their first lap or two, they would bomb it. But they'd regroup, let the engine cool, they get back out there, and sometimes they'd get a top 5 start.
Mm-hmm.
But the plate tracks, there's too many cat and mouse games, as Mike Joy says. People waiting and everybody, they in this last round of qualifying today, you didn't know if half that backpack was going to make it across the line before they waved the flag, and it wouldn't have counted.
I mean, I think it was pretty much the 0 hour by the time that last car got across the finish line to start their lap. Corey, got any?
Yeah, this is stupid. This whole group qualifying at a plate track. Look at it was a circus. Look at what happened to Boyer and Sorensen today, or as Larry Matt called him, Reed Soren. But okay, congratulations to Jeff.
Yes,
there couldn't have been a more fitting, apropos driver to sit on the pole than Gordon.
And we know that Tom's really happy about it.
I'm super
He's
stoked.
Beaming over here.
But was he really the fastest car? You shook your head yes. Thank you.
No, I was kind of giving like a bobblehead because I was trying to agree with the point you're making.
Yeah. Well, no. Gordon and Johnson got a good draft at a good time, and they're probably really fast. I'm not doubting that. They're going to be favorites for the race. But a lot of those drivers who didn't even make it to the second round, like Harvick and all the Stewart-Haas cars, they're really fast.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't. They wasn't there at the right time. It's too much of a mind game, and it's less about running fast and more about time and stuff.
Yeah. You hit the point there. As gone are the days of, as Clint Boyer touched on, that these guys spend 6 months in advance trying to get these, basically rubbing and polishing these cars down to go through the air as quick as possible. Because you always knew that if you had a pretty fast lap in single car runs for the pole for the Daytona 500, you were going to have a decent race car. If it's fast by itself, it's going to be even better in the draft. So it's kind of, are you rewarding the guy that maybe wasn't necessarily the fastest, but happened to have a fast lap because he had 7 or 8 cars in front of him breaking the air in front of him to get that draft. So NASCAR has been kind of conservative when it comes to changes here lately, in the way I think it. They let last year happen, and now they're just kind of letting it work its magic for another year before I'm pretty sure by next year we'll see some changes, possibly to plate tracks.
Well, yeah, especially if more drivers talk like Clint Boyer did at the end of qualifying. I mean, he was very unhappy with his wreck with Reed Sorensen, and he didn't even place the blame on Reed as much as he just said this is NASCAR's fault this happened.
Yeah.
And he was really unhappy. Now, he may go back and redact that statement later, but
well, once that fine comes down from NASCAR for, as Brian France says, they're not going to have any drivers talk bad about the product.
yeah, so we'll see. But I mean, I'm sure if some more drivers back Clint Boyer, because he was the first to kind of, talk about that and really call NASCAR out. So, so we'll see where it goes. We'll see what happens. After they leave Daytona, if there's any changes come to Talladega.
I can see that in the future. We'll just have to wait to see how that all plays out. Usually by midpoint of the season, NASCAR's already kind of announcing their changes, and we'll be looking forward to see that. Something we're going to do here on the Tom Clark Weekly Speed Report is do a team spotlight. We're going to spotlight certain teams in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series and compare what they're doing currently versus last year. And the team that we're going to spotlight this week is Michael Waltrip Racing. I've got some stats here. Boyer and Vickers are the only two current drivers for Michael Waltrip Racing. Boyer only had 5 top 5s, 15 top 10s. Vickers only 3 top 5s, 9 top 10s. And being that they are part of the Toyota Racing Camp, they're kind of the second tier team of that manufacturer. So, I mean, so far they're really not off to a good start either for 2015. Boyer wrecked in the Unlimited. He wrecked in qualifying. Vickers is out till March, sometime in March, I believe. And so you got Michael Waltrip in there till then.
How hilarious is it to see Michael Waltrip in the studio with his fire suit on behind the desk?
I thought that was pretty normal for him to do. I thought he's done it before.
It is normal, but I mean, it still sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. Week to week, one weekend he's going to be in a race suit, next week he's just going to be in a suit and a polo or something. But he ran, jumped in the car, went and qualified, went out the first round, and jumped back in the booth.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
He don't know what he wants to do.
To touch on Michael Waltrip Racing, and I don't want to be completely negative about it, but from day one of that operation, coming into the Sprint Cup Series, they had trouble. 2007 Daytona 500, Michael Waltrip was found to have pretty much jet fuel on the cowl, the front cowl there, where the air comes into the then carburetors. To me, that team has just been plagued with this, that, and the other, and I personally think that sponsors are not going to put up with their mediocre performance and health issues of their drivers for much longer. And maybe not this year, maybe not next year, but in a few years, I see that team folding.
It's pretty bold, Tom.
Well, I mean, that's just the way that's the way I feel about it. That's from what I can see, and even Kyle Busch touched on it, that it's idiotic for those two Toyota teams not to work together. But you obviously see Joe Gibbs being the upper arm in that Toyota camp.
Yeah, and I think with Michael Waltrip Racing, they have been on a downtrend. You look, back in 2012, 2013. Boyer was winning races. They got Truex in victory lane. He was one of the fastest cars on the track every week. Truex was. They lost Truex. They didn't bring him back. And then they have Brian Vickers. He's got all the health problems. And they're on really shaky ground right now. I think Boyer has the skill and the ability to carry the team on his back while they get through the rough times. But they've definitely got to win some races.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
They're the Michael Waltrip Racing. They're a non-factor. Just about they were last year, and the year before that. in 2012, Clint won 3 races, right? And I mean, they were running really good. Even when they had Mark Martin in the 55 car, you know, he was kind of like the Kevin Harvick of that year, just blistering on qualifying. One of the fastest cars out there. And now, you know, you're not even worried, like concerned with them finishing a top 10 just about.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as sponsors, I don't know. I mean, Aaron seems to have a pretty good relationship with Michael. And I know that 5 Hour Energy extended their sponsorship with Clint, I think last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're good for a little while on that. But it is a performance-based sport, so they can't fiddle fart around like they've been doing and expect to get another extension.
Yeah, I mean, the time is now for that team to start performing, and if anything, it sounds like there is a communication problem between Joe Gibbs Racing and MWR. You know, I don't see Toyota, the manufacturer, being, all right, guys, we need to get in a room and come together and start, you know, working together as a team. I think it really is up to the individual team owners. And bringing up Toyota, this is to steal a quote from Family Guy, Peter Griffin, something that grinds my gears. I really wanted to get this out here. Speaking about Toyota, I drive a Toyota. Have for a few years now, the best cars I've ever owned, which is ironic because I pull for a Chevy guy, and I used to like Ford, so I have an identity.
You just like everybody, don't you, Tony?
I just like everybody. But I've read on forums after articles, people leaving comments about how Toyota should not be in NASCAR. I see it pretty much daily when I look at videos or, you know, go to forums, NASCAR forums, and, you know, the claims like the new rule changes are to help Toyota, you know, be better, or, you know, they're crappy cars to begin with, and they're even crappier race cars. I'm here to tell you, to me, NASCAR does not favor a manufacturer over the other, and they try to make an even playing field for pretty much everybody. And to boot, I mean, if I could tell these people to their face, after the 2002 season when Ford had 7 drivers in the top 10 in points and won the manufacturers championship that year, Chevrolet cried and whined about how they thought they should have a more common body style. Starting in 2003, you know how those cars were kind of funny shaped and spoilers were all the same that resembled the Ford, and then the front was Ford-like, and so was the roof. So people saying that Toyota shouldn't be in NASCAR, I mean, more car manufacturers interested in promoting their cars in the sport is good. And to think that they're getting a special hand is ridiculous, in my opinion. So,
well, I mean, if you ask me, I mean, if Toyota wants to be in NASCAR, you know, if a manufacturer wants to, you know, build a car for the sport, you know, they can have whoever the hell they want in there. I mean, really, I mean, but I mean, it breaks my heart that Dodge is no longer in the sport. I'm a Dodge guy. I love Dodge. I own a Dodge, but I mean, Toyotas have come in and they've said, hey, we're here to stay. They're fast. They're winning races. I mean, they have great drivers in their cars. I mean, and if people are still hanging on to the, oh, Toyota shouldn't be here. Toyota's not, you know, a legitimate car because it's not, you know, American manufactured, American made, or whatever have you. I mean, it's childish, really. I mean,
it is, and that's why I wanted to get it out there so that if anybody listens to this, they know my view on it. Hey, listen, you're childish if you're still hanging on to something that's almost been 7-8 years ago.
Listen to Tom Clark. He said it.
I said it. So that's the way it goes. So let's, even though we personally haven't seen the dual races, we don't know what's going to happen. Preview the 500. I think it'll be a pretty good race. I mean, a lot of factors. Jeff Gordon's final 500. Seeing if Earnhardt Jr. can win consecutive 500s. Plus, you're going to have 43 guys wanting to do the same thing. We've seen a Cinderella story a couple years ago with Trevor Bayne and the Wood Brothers. Wood Brothers now have a technical alliance with Team Penske, and they got Ryan Blaney, who's a very talented race car driver. I think it's going to be. I mean, they've always got marching bands there and celebrities, and to me, it's our diplomatic race. It's NASCAR's show to the world. Hey, we're a legitimate sport. This is our big event, and we're passionate about it.
Well, one thing I want to ask you, Tom, just to clear this up for the listeners, you're saying Danica will not make the race. You said 43 guys. So.
Well, you got me on the Danica train now. Okay.
Uh-oh.
So,
ooh, I'd like to be on that train.
Here's what I want to say about Danica. She's nothing but a media marketing machine.
All right, Richard Petty.
Hey, listen. Listen. I've looked up her stats because I wanted to at one time I was like, I wanted to judge where did all this hype come from.
You looked up her stats? Is that what you call it?
Yeah. That's the word they're using nowadays, stats. So I looked at all the results of her career, her entire racing career. Yeah, she started when she was young in quarter midgets and little cars like that. She has one race victory to her credit in her entire career, and that came in the IndyCar series. I don't know what race it was. I don't know what year it was. I don't care what year it was. But,
all right.
And a matter of fact, that I actually looked up that video, and it was like a fuel mileage race. She was like coming out of four, like running out of gas. People were still in the pits. She won the race. So that's what I want to get off. That's what I want to get out about my opinion about Danica. Her days are numbered in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Hey, thanks for being here. You helped us sell tickets. See you later.
Oh, yeah. She can't race. That's as simple as that.
It's kind of like
you're good.
No, nothing against women though. I love women. I love women. But when it comes to women racers, I know there's one 10 times more talented than her than Danica. It's Johanna Long, raced the number 70 car in the Nationwide Series. To me, had tons of talent. Can't get a sponsor just because she looks a little more like everyday women instead of some supermodel.
I'm willing to bet the first woman driver to win a race will be Carson Elledge whenever she gets old enough to drive.
That's possible. Well, she's got connections though.
Who cares? She got connections. She's going to be the first one to win a race. That's how it's going to be.
Well, I don't think Danica will win a race. If she does, I mean, obviously it's going to have to be a plate track. I mean, it took everything for her to get a 6th place finish at Kansas last year. I was impressed. The one thing I like about Danica is she has a positive attitude. She's, aside from, Corey and I discussed it during the race last night, she can't help but, find Ricky Stenhouse on the track and run into him. But I mean, she has a positive attitude. She works hard. She doesn't whine. She doesn't cry. She's not a bitch.
Well, you just ask Ricky to see what he says about it.
Yeah. That was like a really
we're gonna lose.
Even kill tone, and then just a B-bomb right in the middle.
Yeah,
she's nice and polite, and she's not a bitch.
But Tom, I don't think she's gonna win a race. I mean, she can be nice and positive and have a great attitude, and come to the shop every day, wanting to work hard. But is that going to translate to wins for everybody all the time? No. She's in the equipment, but I mean, how long do you think she has at Stewart-Haas?
Well, her contract with both GoDaddy and Stewart-Haas ends this year.
But Tony's going to re-sign her because she brings so much money to the table. You know he will, because with Kurt and Kevin and himself, that's 3 horses in the stable to win championships, and she can bring in the money. And I guarantee you, he will re-sign her long term.
Well, we were previewing the Daytona 500 at first, and now we're
turned into a Danica.
Anyway,
We got
I mean,
Tom on the Danica train.
Yeah.
that's what happened. Okay, in the Daytona 500, it is our Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's the biggest race of the year. I want to make sure, and I've talked to other people that are not race fans about it. The reason we call it our Super Bowl and it kicks off our season, it's not that the winner of the Daytona 500 is the champion of all year and we just race at other places. There is a points championship. There is a playoff system now. It's just that the Daytona 500 carries the same prestige as winning a Super Bowl. Brett Favre was a great quarterback, was he not? He only ever won one Super Bowl. But that seems to be enough to write him down in the book of legends, Derek Cope, yeah, even though he didn't accomplish anything else, he, slipped by and won a Daytona 500.
Yeah,
and
but
that's
Derek Cope is not in the Book of Legends. I guarantee
No,
you
but
that.
that's what I'm saying. If it had not been for Earnhardt's flat tire and him slipping by, nobody would even really know his name.
Yeah, he may not be a legend, but when I hear Derek Cope, I think Daytona 500 champion. I mean, he didn't do much else, but I know he won Daytona 500. Had it not been for that, who the hell's Derek Cope?
Yeah, who's Derek Cope? So that's what I'm trying to say.
He's the guy on that direct insurance commercial or whatever.
I don't know if I've seen that one.
Yeah, because remember I said that guy looks like Derek Cope.
And it was.
I don't.
It wasn't Derek Cope.
His daughters are pretty cute,
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do with that information?
I don't know.
Get you hooked up?
Do with what you please.
So here, Tom, going back to racing here. Okay, the wrecks last night. We had a couple of big ones, especially that one in the middle of the race. I think it was when Jamie McMurray got spun. That was the big one.
Oh,
where
yeah.
There was 14 cars, took out most of the field. Is that going to translate? Is that going to boil over into the 500?
I don't see that it will, because the person pushing Jamie McMurray to wreck him was Greg Biffle, who in 2009, I believe, was the guy that pushed him to the Daytona 500. And them being former teammates and me never seeing Jamie McMurray have a vein so much pop in his head for being mad, I don't think that's even going to be an issue. Jamie McMurray's too worried about selling Happy Meals to kids and being nice to worry about getting in a fist fight. That's what I mean.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I guess I didn't necessarily. I don't think there's there's not like a Biffle McMurray rivalry. It just, obviously I think there'll be a big one, but there were a lot last night. And do you think that the 500 is going to be full of them, or what was it that Larry Mack said? 17 cautions.
Yeah.
Hey, Larry Mack.
He was
we
talking
love you.
about a junior, like getting to the finish or whatever on his tires, and in the last, 50 laps. But he was aided by 17 cautions.
Oh, God.
No, there wasn't quite that many.
No.
There was that many laps, caution laps, probably.
Probably.
But that's way different.
17 cautions, yeah. Now, Larry Mack, if you listen to this, you helped me on a career research project of being a NASCAR crew chief, so just know that I love you. I think you're great. These other two guys, they might give you a hard time, but Larry Mack, if you're listening, Tom Clark loves you.
How sweet.
How sweet.
Yeah.
So,
You should get him a Valentine's Day card, too?
no, real story, real quick, the story. I asked him all these interview questions, and he was like answering them. Told me to surround myself with good people, he kept saying. Right before the last question, he paused and asked me, Tom, how many more questions we got here? I said, oh, Larry, I just got one more, man, just one more. He goes, well, because my wife and son just walked in with supper, and I'm kind of hungry, so. I was like, oh, I'm sorry to interrupt your
KFC dinner.
yeah, KFC. I think he said it was Boston Market. I don't know.
Boston Market. Well, it looks like you have surrounded yourself with good people.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I'm doing this. This is the big ticket. So we've actually got a mailbag question from a listener in Conover, North Carolina, who goes by the name of Alan. His question is, since the sport is dominated by people that are 30 or older, who in the 25 or less age range, currently in the Cup Series, has the best chance of competing for a championship? My personal pick is Joey Logano because he's not 25 yet, turns 25 later this year. And
Under what age did he?
25 and under.
Okay, 25 and under.
So kind of think
And best
chance to actually compete for the title.
Okay.
And
Year?
This year, yeah. And I'm going to go with, like I said, Joey Logano. He's got the most Cup experience. Pretty talented guy. So.
Yeah, Joey Logano. I don't know if there's anybody close, to be honest with you. In that age range. I mean, you got Kyle Larson, who's up and coming. He'll be good, but he's not at Logano's level yet, and mainly because he doesn't drive for Penske or a top-notch team. But I think Logano is just ahead. He's up there with the guys older than him. I mean, he's a legitimate championship contender. I mean, he's not out there posing. He knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean the only one other than Logano I would say is Larson. And I guess to throw out like a dark horse, like a dark horse. He has the talent. Trevor Bayne. I know that Roush is down, but Fords are fast right now with Penske. Will that translate into Roush? I don't know, but I think Trevor Bayne has the talent to get it done. But he would be like the super dark horse if I were to say one.
Of course, Chase Elliott, he's not going to run full time. He's just going to be part time. Of course, he has no chance to run for the championship. Trying to think of anybody else really. That's just the only one that stood out to me when I read that question. So thanks, Alan. Keep on listening. Tell all your friends about the Tom Clark's Weekly Speed Report. And so now we're going to get into the final segment of our podcast for this week. We're going to pick our Daytona 500 winners. And we've decided that our driver, whoever has the highest, will get
10 points.
10 points. Whoever's second highest will get 5 points. And the lowest person, whoever's pick is lowest, will get 3 points. And we'll tally them up at the end of the season who will win the Tom Clark Weekly Speed Report Fantasy Championship. So, because he's sitting on the pole, and I love him to death, and if he was sitting right here, I'd probably just bug him with questions.
I really thought he was going to say something else.
Jeff Gordon is going to win the Daytona 500. Let me guess, guys. Dale Jr.
Well, Corey's got next pick, so.
I am going to save Dale Jr. because I don't want to jinx him, and because I think he's come farther in a lot of other tracks. So I'm gonna say Jimmy. I'm gonna say Jimmy's going to get his third.
Oh gosh, don't even start. I
mean, with him starting up front, and as hard as it can be to pass on a plate track, I just it's going to be hard to get around him.
Well, the first half of the race, he almost looked unstoppable. Corey, you didn't want to jinx him. You left him open for me. I'm going to take Dale Earnhardt Jr. I think his car in the Unlimited looked great. I think him and Greg Ives had it hooked up. He had that debris on the grill and got behind from that, and then it was just so hard to pass the second half of the race. And he tweeted about his 500 car being faster. So I'm gonna take him for back to back. I'm gonna say Dale Jr.
All right, sounds good. So another new segment for this week's episode is we're gonna call it the Green White Checkered, kind of a lightning round of questions, mostly aimed at me, the host, to get my fired up opinions about them. So we're gonna hand it over to Colton Jacobs with his questions.
Okay, Tom, we'll start with you. First question: Colwitt out at the 26. car. They put Jeb Burton in. Do you think that that's going to translate into like a long-term relationship in the 26 with Jeb Burton?
I think it will. I don't know. I think it was a couple years ago when he was in the Truck Series. I think he won a pole and was up there in the top 5. I think led the points at one point in the season. I think Jeb Burton is a pretty talented young race car driver, and to see where his dad's career kind of stopped, he wants to continue his dad's, his last name. And I think because of that fire and that, because he was in like second tier equipment, and I think he'll do good things with what he's got.
I hope it's not. I hope he's not in the 26. I hope he gets in a better ride, because like Tom said, he's got a lot of talent, and it's going to be wasted in the 26 car. I hate to say. So I hope he's not in there for a while.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next question. We're gonna move on. Okay, Tom. Do any rookies or sophomores get a win this year?
Any rookies or sophomores get a win this year? I'm going to go out on a limb and say that of the 5 starts that Chase Elliott is going to make this year in the Sprint Cup Series, Chase Elliott will end up in victory lane. Probably by an odd set of circumstances, most likely, but I think you'll have a car close enough to the front to if something like that were to happen, he would be there to capitalize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kyle Larson will get one. I mean, he got a lot closer at the end of last year, so now he's got a full season with been to every track at least once, so he'll get him one someplace.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Larson. I think he will. Throw my 2 cents in. All right, your checker question. Just give me a number. It was 13 last year, or win total for the team for Hendrick Motorsports this year.
Win total for Hendrick Motorsports this year, I'm going to say 17. 17 just sounds like a good round number, and I'm pretty sure all 4 full-time drivers will have a share in that win total.
Yeah, I was going to say 16. I mean, they're going to really. I mean, you got four drivers, and they're some of the best drivers on a track. And they got, 9 championships between all of them? Yeah. So, yeah, they're probably gonna win about every other.
10 actually, because Jimmy's got 6, Jeff's got 4.
Jeff's got 4. Right. Okay. Yeah.
Where'd you go to school? Same place I did.
Not to the school of Jeff Gordon Love, I guess.
Okay.
So I think you can see a Hendrick car win just about every other race.
Or a Hendrick affiliated car. I mean, Stuart Haas, especially with Kevin Harvick, I think they'll be as a pretty much 8-car entity. It'd be hard to beat.
Yeah, I'm going to be a little more conservative. I'm going to say they're going to total one more, 14, because I think Casey's going to get a few more. I don't know if Dale's going to have 4 again this year. I think last year was, until he proves more, I'm not going to. I'm willing to say that Jeff and Jimmy can equal theirs, but until Dale does it consistently, I'm not going to bank on 4 again from him. But I think Casey will get a couple more, so I'm going to say 14.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for joining us on this edition of the Tom Clark Weekly Speed Report. Remember to follow us on Twitter at TCW Speed Report, and to email us your questions and concerns at tcwspeedreport@gmail.com. This is Tom Clark signing out.